People of the internet, Kill Tony's new Netflix special, Once Upon a Time in Texas, is so bad it ended William Montgomery's career. Now, there's a lot I could say about this special and go on many long-winded rants, but I'm going to save you just for this night because I have found 2 clips that sum up Kill Tony and the disaster that is Netflix Kill Tony specials. First, we're going to start off with Roseanne Barr. She opened the show, and Tony called her the GOAT just before she came out. I want you to remember that as we watch her set. So let's see the GOAT in action right now.
Tony. Fuck yeah, Texas! Fuck yeah, Texas! I moved here 3.5 years ago. I love Texas so much. You can walk around anywhere wearing a gun and you can shoot anything or anybody you fucking feel like shooting. Hell yeah! I love it here. I love you. Thank you, Tony, for inviting me to do 3 minutes, which I haven't done for a long, long time. But I didn't even know if anybody remembered me anymore, you know. Thank you all so much. Because, like, when I go out, people oftentimes will confuse me for Rosie O'Donnell. I don't know why, but now it happens quite frequent. You know, it's upsetting to me, too. They'll go, hey, Rosie, you cutie patootie. Hey, Rosie, we miss you there on The View. Hey, Rosie, you're right. Fuck Trump. He is a fascist. Kind of bumps me out, you know. I'm like, hey, I'm not the one whose kid is a crack whore in prison there. For hell's sake, I support Trump. I'm the one that likes dick. I've always liked dick. All kinds of dick. I've had about every kind of dick you can have, and I liked it all. I'm a big fan of dick. No problem with that. It was the, stuff around it that I had problems with. The other parts of the body that kept the stem cell alive there. Had problems with that. Some say I gave up too much for dick. 3 divorces, went broke. Perhaps I loved too much, you know what I mean? I'm kind of proof that you can suck and fuck your way to the bottom. And I can't wait to do it all again, ladies and gentlemen. God bless America and kill Tony.
Wow, that was the GOAT in action. Obviously, right? We saw it right there. And the whole time, all I could think about is, before my grandma passed away, she was suffering from dementia. And when she had dementia, she would just blurt things out, and it would be in all kinds of random places. You never knew when it was going to happen. So one day, the whole family, we had a big family, right? The whole family is at a nice diner in a restaurant. We're all sitting in one of those giant circle booths that you could fit 9 to 12 people in. We're all crammed in there, and my grandma is right in the middle, facing the room. And the waitress comes over, and she says, "How's everything going? Could I get you anything?" And my grandma just blurts out, "I love big black cock." And we all sat there just like I did with Roseanne and went, and that's the feeling that I had. That feeling of terror, that feeling of shock, that feeling that you just want to run out of the room as fast as you can and create as much distance from you and the situation you were just in. And I also want to point out that does Kill Tony have this huge Rogan influence? Because it seems that all the goats in the world, all the best 250 comics, they all scream their jokes. They put emphasis. You can tell when you're where you're supposed to laugh is because they put emphasis, and it seems like just because they say the word differently than how they said all of the words before, that it's supposed to make something funny, right? You know, it just seemed like Roseanne was escalating the volume of dick every time she said it. And it just doesn't make sense. But I have to give her credit because she knew the assignment for Kill Tony, and she knew the Kill Tony brand so well that her whole set was about dick and fascism, right? Dick and fascism. That is the Kill Tony show. Dick and politics, dick and insults. But there's always dick. Anyways, I feel really disappointed because when I watch this show, I also feel sadness, right? If you look at the lineup here, besides Tony and Red Band, they had Gabriel Iglesias, Roseanne Barr, Rob Schneider, and Harlan Williams perform, right? And on the panel. Now, get me wrong, but all of these comedians have kind of been canceled and kind of labeled the rejects of comedy, right? Because they've said some awful things. We all know about Roseanne Barr. Rob Schneider had a bad one. Hey, even though Adam Sandler will never give up on Rob, but that's credit to Adam Sandler for being a friend no matter what. But all of these guys have been shunned. And I've always said that the Kill Tony fans are rejects, but you just look. It's becoming all of the reject comics because though Kill Tony might have success, right? And though the Trump thing might have boosted him, it only brought him the rejects. Tony isn't propped up by a wide variety of an audience. It's propped up by all of the rejects. And it's starting to become a haven for the comedians that embarrassed themselves, said horrible things, and did bad things. And Kill Tony, when I was watching Roseanne, I just kept thinking, this is becoming a home for rejects. You know, a place for them to just keep suffering in their shit and not making any progress. And I've always said to Kill Tony fans, you could make progress, but you are who you hang out with, and you have to leave that scene, or you'll just become worse and worse and worse. And I think Roseanne was a symbol for that. But besides that, I'm not going to go on anymore about Roseanne. But I do have to say, Kill Tony, why would you open your Netflix show like that? It seems like Tony has put no effort and made all of the worst decisions through the 3 now Netflix specials for Kill Tony. But guess what? I'm okay with that because now Tony has to do his special. Because if you remember in the Kill Tony contract, he did 3 of the Kill Tony live shows and he did 1 comedy special. So get your dancing shoes on because this is the moment we've all been waiting for. His special is next. But let's leave that there for now and move on to William Montgomery. Now, just before this, Joe Rogan came out. You know Joe had to make an appearance. Sleepy Joe Rogan, right? He had to make an appearance. He had to make himself known, and he had to let everybody know that all 4 of them had control of the Kill Tony show, and mostly his lover, Tony. Now, Joe Rogan came on to announce the 2025 Guest of the Year just before William Montgomery went on, and it was Carrot Top, proving more of my theory right there. But there was something that was supposed to be special about this set for William because he was closing out the Kill Tony Netflix special. A big moment. He was supposed to be the Big Bang. He was supposed to leave the house roaring with laughter and sending him out in the streets on a high. Did William Montgomery do that? Well, if you read the title of this YouTube video, you probably know the answer. But I just want to show you how bad it was. Just listen to the crowd. Here we go.
Guess I didn't realize so many daycare centers had been hijacked by Somali pirates. They get a substitute teacher, and the teacher's like, we're watching Black Hawk Down today. And the 3-year-olds are like, again, we watched that movie 6 times last week. I'm kidding. Those schools don't have kids. They're referred to as child soldiers. I wish every ethnic group would start a daycare center. Like you go to a Jamaican Head Start and it's actually just a head shop. You go to the German daycare center and they're like, no, it's actually just a camp. And you're like, the kids are at camp? And they go, no, they're running the camp. So is the Vatican working alongside the K-pop demon hunters? They need help!
Wow, isn't that amazing? William Montgomery was given the biggest spot on the lineup, closing the show, and he comes out with a note card. Now, you're probably all baffled why he had a note card after all of those terrible jokes, but it just seems that William Montgomery is not cut out for comedy because all he seems to do is bomb constantly. And, you know, it set the tone for the show because just before that, Harlan Williams, I can't even believe anyone thinks he's funny. Harlan Williams bombed as well. It was a show of bombs, a bomb show, a horror show. That is the Kill Tony show. Now, William Montgomery has been given so many chances, but he just can't seem to get the job done. And you could see that because he came out with a note card on probably one of the biggest sets of his life. And he came out with a note card with shitty jokes, and it was only like a minute long to close the show. You know, you could have went over the meow. I don't even know if they meowed, but I know it's a minute. He could have went over. He was the thing. He could have brought the ruckus. But all he did was bring a note card with the same shitty jokes he always writes, and he tried to get people to laugh, at least one time, with the yell. Now, I don't think William Montgomery is going to have much of a career from here, and I think Tony is going to get mad. I think Tony's going to get mad. You can't embarrass Tony. Right after Roseanne, Diedrich, I think his name is, he bombed as well, and he stopped mid-set, and he said, I'm so nervous, blah, blah, blah. And he redeemed himself, apparently. I was reading the Kill Tony for him. That was 50-50. But I thought it was a lot of crap, because he started crying and being, I'm a comedian, I'm so sentimental. Tony, make this a wholesome moment. Please, save my ass. And then he put on his grill and he just randomly started shouting. And Tony was like, no, please don't do that. Don't put on the grill. And some called it a wholesome moment, I guess, and he redeemed himself. I just thought it was just more proof how bad the comedians are in Kill Tony. Now, will Tony get another deal like this? I don't know. If I was a Netflix exec, I would say no. Because this is what's going to happen in the views. Just so, before the views come out, right, the viewer numbers, this is what's going to happen, and this is what Netflix Kill Tony fans. Now, all of the Kill Tony fans are going to jump on tonight and tomorrow and possibly 3 days, and the views are going to spike. It's going to put it probably, well, I don't know, but usually it'll put it in the top for a week, and then it's going to go dead in the water. Nobody's going to watch it because the Kill Tony fans can only do that for so long, and it's usually about a week. And they're going to tell you that. They're going to tell you that. They're going to say, oh, it's number 2 or number 3 or number 1, whatever. Yeah, because you all flooded it. But after that, nobody's going to watch it. Once they see Roseanne Barr, they are going to turn it off. Nobody is going to take this special seriously because it is absolute horseshit. And it's full of a bunch of comedy rejects. And they probably wouldn't be rejected, but they're bad as well. So everybody was glad to get rid of them. This is what Kill Tony is. Joe, Tony, all of them have ruined their reputation so much by the political comments, the racist comments, the bad faith arguments, the misinformation, and just blatant disrespect for people that nobody takes these guys seriously anymore. You just see it's a revolving door, and then everyone gets super excited when Shane makes his couple appearances a year. That is the Kill Tony show. It is just a revolving door of bad comics, bad bucket pools, but you can't expect that much from the bucket pool because all of the good comics don't go there. They're not going to stand in line hoping for a chance day after day. It is just a revolving door of bad comedy. And these people, you can say they are the most diverse comedy show in the entire world, but they all knew the assignment and they all went after the keywords in one way or another. They made it political. Roseanne did, William did. Oh, let's make fun of really confusing and complex situations in America. Let's make fun of things that are dividing people right now, and not even do it in a good way. I'm not here, to hate on jokes and this and that. Frankly, I don't care. But these people are doing things to our society. They're raising a generation of weak, lonely, frustrated men. And they're keeping them frustrated instead of making them progress in their lifestyle. So that's why I pointed out. We got to save the world, all right? Kill Tony, another big flop. I knew it would be. And it just seems like Tony doesn't care because it just doesn't get better. And he doesn't just get good comedians. But then you remember, he burned all of his bridges with the comedy community. And no comedian except the ones in the rogansphere and the ones desperate to be in the rogansphere. Louis Gomez, Jeff Dye. They're the only ones he can get. And it's getting old. How many times can you see these guys? But I guess it's up to you. If this is your thing, it's your thing. But could you please get out of the public space, politics, and the way the country is being shaped? You can have your Kill Tony. You can have little Rogan. You can have them all. But please just go away into a dark, dark corner of the world so we don't have to deal with you and society doesn't have to fail any longer because old Joe and old Tony want to be racist little men. Let me know what you think in the comments. Peace.